Jackie Chan spent the early years of his career living under a shadow that never belonged to him. After Bruce Lee's sudden death, the world wanted a replacement, and the film industry decided Jackie should be that man. But what looked like an opportunity slowly became a trap that nearly ended his career before it truly began. This is not the story most people think they know about Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee. The void that turned into a burden. Bruce Lee's death did not just shock the world, it destabilized an entire industry. In Hong Kong, martial arts cinema had revolved around one man, one presence, one philosophy that audiences believed could not be replaced. When Bruce Lee was gone, the studios did not grieve. They panicked. Production schedules stalled, international demand remained high, and distributors wanted the next face immediately. The question was never whether Bruce Lee was irreplaceable. The question was how fast someone could be molded to look like him. Jackie Chan entered this moment at the worst possible time. He was young, highly trained, disciplined, and visible. He had grown up in the China Drama Academy, enduring brutal Peking opera training that shaped his body into something rare. Flexible, durable, precise. He had already worked as a stuntman and appeared in Bruce Lee's films, including a minor role that gave him just enough proximity to be noticed. To the studios, that was enough. Connection mattered more than compatibility. What followed was not mentorship, but pressure. Jackie was not asked who he was as a performer. He was told who he needed to become. Studio executives and directors believed the solution was imitation. Bruce Lee's intensity, his silence, his speed, his anger, his fighting rhythm. Jackie later recalled that he was instructed to copy not just Bruce Lee's movements, but his facial expressions and presence. It was never about developing Jackie Chan. It was about manufacturing another Bruce Lee as quickly as possible. This was where the tragedy began. Jackie Chan understood something the industry refused to accept. Bruce Lee was not just skilled, he was singular. Jackie openly admitted that Bruce Lee was someone no one could ever surpass. More importantly, he recognized that Bruce Lee's fighting style did not fit his own body or training. Bruce favored high kicks, explosive power, and short, decisive encounters. Jackie's instincts were different. He stayed low, relied on balance, endurance, acrobatics, and movement that flowed rather than struck. The more he was pushed to abandon those instincts, the more disconnected he became from himself. The industry believed resistance was arrogance. In reality, it was survival. And Jackie Chan was about to pay a heavy price for that honesty. Two philosophies that were never meant to be the same. The misunderstanding that followed Jackie Chan for decades began with a false assumption that martial arts skill is interchangeable. To studio executives, Kung Fu was Kung Fu. Speed was speed. Power was power. If Bruce Lee could do it, then Jackie Chan should simply learn to do the same. What they ignored was that Bruce Lee's fighting style was not a template. It was the result of a very specific journey, shaped by real combat, personal experimentation, and philosophical obsession. Bruce Lee's evolution had been born out of frustration. After returning from Hong Kong to the United States, he realized that traditional Wing Chun alone was not enough when facing larger, stronger opponents. He tested himself relentlessly, sometimes recklessly, in sparring and real confrontations. Those experiences forced him to abandon tradition in favor of efficiency. His answer became Jeet Kune Do, a system designed to be direct, ruthless, and adaptable. Bruce believed in ending fights quickly. His on-screen combat reflected that belief: short exchanges, explosive strikes, and decisive conclusions. To audiences, he looked superhuman because he removed hesitation and excess. Jackie Chan came from a completely different world. His foundation was not street fighting or philosophical rebellion. It was discipline through performance. Peking opera training did not prioritize winning fights. It prioritized control, timing, rhythm, and endurance. Jackie learned how to fall safely, how to use space, how to keep moving even when exhausted. Pain was not avoided, it was managed. This training made him acrobatic, expressive, and resilient, but it did not prepare him to mimic Bruce Lee's brutal minimalism. When filmmakers demanded that Jackie fight like Bruce Lee, they were asking him to erase his own body language. Jackie later explained that Bruce favored high kicks and direct attacks, while he naturally kept his legs low and relied on sweeps and movement. Bruce's fights were about dominance. Jackie's were about survival. Bruce ended battles in seconds. Jackie extended them, turning exhaustion and improvisation into narrative tools. This difference was not weakness. It was incompatibility. Jackie understood that copying Bruce Lee's technique would not make him stronger, it would make him artificial. Yet the industry interpreted this refusal as a problem to be corrected. Instead of asking how Jackie could evolve martial arts cinema in his own way, they doubled down on forcing him into a mold that had already shattered. What followed was not artistic growth, but identity erosion. Jackie Chan was about to learn painfully what happens when talent is punished for being honest, when imitation turned into public failure. The experiment to turn Jackie Chan into the next Bruce Lee was not theoretical. It played out in theaters, on posters, and at the box office, publicly and painfully. Once Jackie was positioned as a potential successor, the industry moved fast. He was cast in a series of films designed to echo Bruce Lee's legacy, not to explore Jackie Chan's strengths. These projects were meant to reassure audiences that the void had been filled. Instead, they exposed how fragile the illusion was. Jackie starred in films that demanded seriousness, silence, and emotional rigidity. He was asked to portray brooding anti-heroes driven by revenge, stripped of humor and spontaneity. The characters were narrow, the scripts uninspired, and the expectations suffocating. Jackie later acknowledged that nothing about these roles felt natural to him. He was performing someone else's shadow, not a living character. Audiences sensed it immediately. The results were devastating. Film after film failed to connect. Viewers did not see a new Bruce Lee. They saw an uncomfortable imitation. Jackie would later admit that these movies bombed because people were unimpressed with his performance, not because he lacked skill, but because he was trapped in a role that erased his identity. Critics were unforgiving. The industry whispered that he lacked star power. Some openly labeled him box office poison. This period cut deeper than professional disappointment. Jackie had grown up enduring extreme discipline, punishment, and isolation at the China Drama Academy. He had survived years of physical hardship, believing it would eventually lead to something meaningful. Now, standing at what should have been his breakthrough, he felt publicly rejected for failing to be someone he never claimed to be. The comparisons to Bruce Lee became relentless. Every failure was framed as proof that Jackie was unworthy of the legacy he never asked to inherit. The pressure was not just external. Jackie began to doubt himself. He questioned whether his instincts were wrong, whether his body had betrayed him, whether his refusal to imitate Bruce Lee had doomed his future. This was the lowest point. Jackie Chan was not just failing in the industry, he was losing faith in his place within it. The man who would one day redefine action cinema was now struggling to justify his own existence in it. And the industry was already preparing to move on. The risk of choosing himself. By the time Jackie Chan reached this point, failure was no longer abstract. It had names, reviews, debts, and closed doors. The industry had begun to quietly distance itself from him, and the label of failed successor followed wherever he went. For Jackie, the problem was no longer how to succeed. It was whether continuing at all made sense. He had done what he was told, played the roles he was given, and erased his instincts to satisfy expectations. None of it worked. The turning point did not arrive as a dramatic victory. It came as exhaustion. Jackie later explained that he finally understood something simple but devastating. Continuing down the same path would destroy him. He could not outgrow Bruce Lee's shadow by standing inside it. He needed a different direction, even if it meant starting over with nothing. That opportunity came through producer Ung Si-Yuan, one of the few figures willing to listen rather than dictate. Jackie was honest in a way he had not been before. He explained that the roles he had been forced into felt wrong in his body and wrong in his spirit. He admitted that copying Bruce Lee's intensity, posture, and fighting rhythm stripped him of everything he had trained for since childhood. Ung Si-Yuan agreed to something no one else had allowed. Jackie could walk an entirely different path. This decision was not safe. At that moment, Jackie had no leverage, no proven box office value, and no guarantee the audience would accept him as anything other than a failed imitation. Allowing him creative freedom meant risking money on an actor the industry had already written off. But for Jackie, it was the last option left. When he finally stepped away from the Bruce Lee mold, something shifted immediately. His movements relaxed. His timing returned. Instead of suppressing pain, he showed it. Instead of ending fights quickly, he let them unfold. He used exhaustion, clumsiness, and improvisation not as weaknesses, but as narrative tools. This was not rebellion. It was alignment. What made this moment tragic is how late it came. Years had already been lost trying to become someone else. Confidence had been damaged. Reputation had suffered. But in choosing himself, Jackie was no longer chasing Bruce Lee's legacy. He was unknowingly honoring it in the only way that mattered, by adapting truthfully. The industry had tried to force Jackie Chan into Bruce Lee's shape. Now, for the first time, Jackie was allowed to move like Jackie Chan, and the audience was about to notice. Why success came only after he stopped fighting like Bruce Lee. When Jackie Chan was finally allowed to work outside the Bruce Lee template, the change was immediate and undeniable. What audiences saw was not a rejection of martial arts seriousness, but a redefinition of it. Jackie's fights became longer, messier, and more human. He slipped, he struggled, he absorbed punishment. Instead of appearing untouchable, he appeared vulnerable. And that vulnerability created tension that Bruce Lee's invincibility never needed. In Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, Jackie was no longer required to posture as a silent avenger. He could react. He could improvise. His training in Peking opera suddenly made sense on screen. Acrobatics were not decoration. They were survival mechanisms. Comedy was not distraction. It was emotional access. Viewers did not just admire his skill, they recognized themselves in his effort. That recognition deepened with Drunken Master. Jackie's fighting style became unpredictable, exhausting, and chaotic by design. He did not overpower opponents through dominance alone. He outlasted them. He confused them. He turned imbalance into strategy. This was the opposite of Bruce Lee's philosophy on screen, and yet it carried the same core truth. Efficiency is personal. What works depends on who you are. The irony is unavoidable. Jackie's greatest success came from applying Bruce Lee's deeper idea rather than copying his technique. Bruce Lee had rejected tradition to create Jeet Kune Do. Jackie rejected imitation to create his own language of action. Where Bruce ended fights quickly, Jackie extended them to tell stories. Where Bruce symbolized certainty, Jackie embodied resilience. Audiences responded because the films felt honest. Jackie was no longer pretending to be someone else's legacy. He was building his own. And in doing so, he didn't replace Bruce Lee. He proved that replacement was never the point. The truth behind the refusal. The statement that Jackie Chan refused Bruce Lee's fighting style is both true and misleading. Jackie did refuse to imitate Bruce Lee's movements, expressions, and on-screen persona. He refused to perform Jeet Kune Do as theater. But he never rejected Bruce Lee himself. In fact, Jackie consistently spoke of Bruce with reverence, calling him unsurpassable and acknowledging his influence without hesitation. What Jackie refused was the lie that mastery can be duplicated. He understood that Bruce Lee's fighting style was the result of Bruce Lee's body, mind, and life experiences. Trying to copy it would not honor Bruce. It would cheapen him. Jackie's refusal was not defiance. It was respect. The tragedy lies in how long it took for that truth to be accepted. Years of failure, humiliation, and doubt were required before the industry realized what Jackie had known from the beginning, that he was not built to be a replacement. He was built to be an alternative. In the end, Jackie Chan didn't become the next Bruce Lee. He became proof that Bruce Lee was irreplaceable. And by finding his own way, Jackie preserved something far more important than a fighting style. He preserved the philosophy that Bruce Lee lived by: adapt honestly or fail pretending. Do you think Jackie Chan would have succeeded if he had kept imitating Bruce Lee, or was finding his own path the only way forward? Let us know what you think in the comments. If this story changed how you see both legends, like the video and subscribe for more untold truths behind martial arts cinema.